Stop what you are doing. Not because something is wrong, because something is about to go wrong. And the only reason it doesn't have to is because you are watching this before it happens rather than after. Count your lucky stars that the universe has brought you this video. Synchronicity means the universe is working in your favor, so it's important to listen when it taps you on the shoulder. Today is one of those days, so stay with me. You will thank yourself for what you did at the end of this video. I guarantee you that. Today Mercury fires into Aries, and in the next 72 hours the universe is running a quiet audit. Not of your life, not of your circumstances, not of your output, but of your patterns, specifically the communication patterns, the reaction patterns, the decision patterns that have been running on autopilot while your attention was elsewhere. Most people will feel the charge of this energy and act on it immediately. They will send the message, start the confrontation, make the declaration, move fast because Mercury in Aries makes everything feel ready, and they will be cleaning up the consequences of that speed when Thursday's new moon arrives. That is not going to be you, because there are 8 specific mistakes that become dangerous in the next 72 hours. Each one feels completely justified in the moment. Each one has a somatic signal, a specific feeling in the body that disguises itself as clarity, and each one, if acted on before Thursday, costs you something you cannot recover before the new moon perfects. Stay with me. All 8 are coming. Comment I see the signal below, because as we discussed before, that sets the energetic confirmation of the intention we are setting today. Let me tell you what today has actually felt like, not what it should feel like. What it has felt like in your body since you woke up. There has been a sharpness today that wasn't there yesterday, not clarity exactly, something more like the edge of something. A voltage running just beneath the surface of ordinary thought, a low-level alertness that you cannot trace to anything specific in your external circumstances because its source is not external. You have noticed that your tolerance for vagueness has dropped. Conversations that felt manageable yesterday feel faintly irritating today. Situations you have been patient with feel suddenly less deserving of that patience. And there are words, specific words about specific people and specific situations that have been composing themselves in your mind with an insistence they didn't have at the beginning of the week. You may have almost sent something today that you didn't send, almost said something you held back, almost made a decision that felt so obvious you questioned yourself for not acting on it immediately. That pressure at the base of the throat, that tightening across the upper chest, that restlessness in the hands. That is not urgency. That is Mercury entering Aries, moving through your nervous system, the planet of the mind, and communication landing in the most impulsive, fastest moving, act first, evaluate later sign in the zodiac. The secret language of birthdays is precise about what this combination creates. Mercury and the number 5 together represent change and deep impatience for plodding behavior, coupled with Mars, the ruler of Aries. The result is a constitutional pull toward forceful, even impulsive action. The energy is real. The urgency is real. What is not real is the permission it feels like. Now let me give you the full picture, because what is happening today is more layered than the surface energy suggests. And once you understand the complete mechanics, the 8 mistakes stop being abstract warnings and become something you can feel coming before they arrive. Mercury enters Aries today and immediately walks into the orbit of 2 planetary forces already stationed in the early degrees of the sign, Saturn and Neptune. Saturn first. Every word you speak today, every message you send, every decision you announce, every declaration you make is being weighed by the structural reality principle of the universe itself. Saturn does not negotiate with good intentions. It does not soften its assessment because your frustration is justified or your clarity feels genuine. It asks one question only. Is what you are transmitting grounded in actual truth or in the pressure of an activated nervous system that Mercury in Aries just switched on? The answer to that question determines what the next 72 hours build or cost you. Neptune second, the boundary between what you actually mean and what you think you mean in the heat of this energy is thinner today than usual. What feels like absolute clarity right now may be coming from a layer of awareness that has not yet been tested by Thursday's new moon. Neptune in Aries blurs the line between inspired direction and the story you most want to be true about your situation. You cannot always tell the difference from inside the feeling. Now here is the spiritual authority governing all of this. The secret language of birthdays identifies the tarot card for the 14th as Temperance, a guardian angel whose specific function is to keep us on an even keel between the impulse and the action. The card carries a direct warning for this energy. Avoid all forms of egotistical excess. Modify the passion before it becomes the transmission. The Aries 3 period, the pioneering spirit that defines this entire phase of the calendar, carries its own precise instruction built into its architecture. Beware of being carried away by your own enthusiasm. That is not a suggestion toward passivity. That is the calibration instruction for the specific 72-hour window you are now inside. Before the 8 mistakes, you need to understand what the next 72 hours are actually doing, because each mistake belongs to a specific phase. And knowing which phase you are in is the difference between navigating this window with precision and being swept through it by a current you didn't see coming. Phase 1. Exposure. Today, Mercury fires into Aries, and the things that have been true but unspoken suddenly become physically uncomfortable to contain. Hidden frustrations surface. Suppressed assessments announce themselves. The gap between what you have been saying and what you have actually been thinking becomes a pressure in the body rather than a background awareness in the mind. This is the exposure phase. Everything feels suddenly visible. And the danger here is mistaking that visibility for a signal to immediately transmit what you are seeing. Exposure is not permission, it is information. Phase 2. Pressure. Wednesday the 16th. The Sun conjuncts Chiron. The wound that has been approaching the surface all week meets the full light of your conscious awareness. The body registers this as a specific tightening, chest, jaw, the back of the neck. An almost physical inability to maintain the stillness that precision requires. The urge to resolve, to confront, to force clarity before it is fully formed reaches its peak intensity here. This is the phase where most people break. The pressure feels exactly like a signal to act. It is the last test before the release. Phase 3. Settlement. Thursday's new moon. The stellium perfects. The 7 planets align. The pressure completes its work and releases, not through force, but through the natural conclusion of a process that required time to finish. The chosen one who navigated phase 1 and phase 2 without the 8 mistakes arrives here to find that the clarity they were trying to manufacture in phase 1 has arrived on its own. Cleaner, more grounded, more aligned with who they actually are than anything the urgency of Tuesday could have produced. The 8 mistakes are the ways people short-circuit phase 3 by acting in phase 1. Now you know the architecture. Here are the mistakes. Mistake 1. Sending the message you have been composing since Monday. There is a specific message. You know exactly which one. You have been writing it in your mind since Monday's fog began to lift and the words started arriving with uncomfortable precision. Today with Mercury in Aries, that message feels ready, complete. Not just ready, overdue. The somatic signal is a pressure at the base of the throat. The physical sensation of something that has been held too long and needs to be released. Here's what the sky is actually telling you. It is not ready. The clarity feels complete because Mercury in Aries creates the sensation of readiness before the substance has fully formed. What feels like the final version today is a draft. The version that arrives after Thursday's new moon will say what actually needs to be said, with a precision and a groundedness that today's pressure cannot access. Wait, what needs to be communicated will still need to be communicated on Friday. And from Friday's ground it lands as truth rather than reaction. Mistake 2. Initiating the confrontation that has been building all week. You know the one. It has been sitting in the body as a low-level hum of unresolved tension. the specific somatic signature of something that has been true for longer than it has been acknowledged. Today, Mercury in Aries removes the inhibition against directness, and that hum becomes a roar. The body signal is a heat in the jaw and upper chest, the physical precursor to words that are coming from activation rather than from truth. The Aries the third wisdom and the secret language is precise here. Tune in to what people are really saying before you respond to what you think they mean. Today, the distinction between those two things is at its most blurred. What feels like confronting a reality is often confronting your activated nervous system's interpretation of a reality that has not yet been seen clearly. Hold it through the pressure of phase 2. What needs to be faced will be faced more honestly from Thursday's ground. Mistake 3. Acting on the decision that arrived this morning, feeling obvious. Mercury in Aries generates a specific category of decision. The one that feels so inevitable, so obviously correct, so clearly the only rational conclusion that questioning it feels like weakness or delay. The somatic signal is a rush of certainty in the solar plexus that bypasses deliberation entirely and lands already feeling decided. The secret language identifies the number 5 energy of this day as creating impatience for plodding behavior. A constitutional pull toward action, even when stillness is what the moment requires. A decision that cannot survive 72 hours of patient observation without losing its conviction is not as solid as it feels today. If it is genuinely the right move, it will be equally obvious on Thursday. Hold it. Let the new moon witness what you decide rather than Saturn. Audit what you rushed. Mistake 4. Explaining yourself to people who are not moving with you. This mistake is quieter than the others and more costly because it disguises itself as communication rather than as the energy leak it actually is. Mercury in Aries activates the compulsion to be understood, to make the case for your direction, to justify your choices, to construct the argument that will finally produce comprehension in people who have already demonstrated they are not on your frequency. The somatic signal is an exhaustive loop, the same explanation cycling through the mind again and again, being refined and reorganized as though the right sequence of words will eventually unlock a door that is not actually closed from the inside. It is not. It is simply not your door to open. The autopilot interruption here is direct. Stop the explanation mid-sentence, not with anger, not with drama. Simply stop. The new moon will clarify who belongs in your next chapter without requiring you to argue them into it. Mistake 5. Reopening. What the last 3 days already closed between April 9th and 13th, certain things completed. Certain connections reached their natural endpoint. Certain dynamics you were participating in revealed themselves as finished. Not through dramatic collapse, but through a quiet, undeniable settling. The specific somatic signal of this mistake is a backward gravitational pull. A nostalgic heaviness in the chest that Mercury in Aries can masquerade as clarity, as renewed courage, as the insight that you now know how to fix what didn't work before. The Temperance card's warning for this specific energy is pointed. Avoid egotistical excess. And that includes the excess of believing that your desire to resurrect something is information about whether it should be resurrected. What closed in the last 3 days, closed because the new moon required clear ground. Reopening it today does not undo the closing. It simply means you are standing in the doorway when Thursday arrives instead of on the other side of it. Mistake 6. Saying the true thing at the wrong moment. This is the mistake that confuses the chosen one most reliably, because the thing they're about to say is actually true. The assessment is accurate. The observation is correct. Mercury in Aries, combined with the Chiron wound approaching the surface, means genuine insights about people and situations are arriving today with an unusual precision that cannot be entirely dismissed. The somatic signal is a righteous tension in the upper body. The specific physical feeling of being absolutely correct about something and being physiologically unable to tolerate the delay of not saying it immediately. But Temperance does not ask you to silence the truth. It asks you to modify the passion through which you transmit it. The truth is equally true on Thursday. Said from Thursday's settled ground rather than today's activated one, it lands as liberation rather than confrontation, as an opening rather than a wound. Mistake 7. Performing confidence you have not yet fully earned. Mercury in Aries generates a specific performance of certainty, the decisive tone, the forward momentum, the presentation of absolute knowing that feels more convincing to the self than it is supported by the actual situation. The somatic signal is a forward-leaning physical energy that bypasses the feet, movement that comes from the chest and the jaw, rather than from the grounded base of the body. The secret language identifies the April 14th Aries III energy as one that inspires respect through presence and image, rather than through actual leadership capacity. The warning within that is precise. The less evolved expression of this energy wishes not merely to be respected, but to be obeyed, and will engage in subtly underhanded behavior to manufacture that standing. Today is not the day to project the authority you are still in the process of building. Today is the day to consolidate quietly what you actually have. Saturn is watching. It rewards substance. It exposes performance with a precision that is not unkind but is completely without mercy. Mistake 8. Breaking your own silence because the silence became uncomfortable. The final mistake and the most important one. Mercury in Aries is constitutionally incompatible with silence. The energy wants to fill every available space, with words, with plans, with declarations, with movement. The somatic signal is a restlessness in the hands and feet, the specific physical inability to be still that this transit creates in the nervous system of anyone paying close enough attention to feel it. The Aries III advice in the secret language carries this instruction. Try to keep in touch with the actual state of things. The actual state of things right now is that Thursday's new moon is 3 days away, and it is bringing a clarity that no amount of today's transmission can manufacture early. The silence is not empty, it is charged. It is doing something that words would interrupt, and the most powerful thing the chosen one can do today, the thing that costs the most and returns the most, is precisely what Mercury in Aries makes the hardest. Hold the silence. Saturn is watching how you move when no one is watching. Move with precision, not with speed. Before I go into the close, I want to take a moment here, because the way this community has been showing up this week specifically has meant something I want to acknowledge directly. Your support has been incredibly uplifting, and we're building a community here of like-minded individuals who are just, in general, amazing souls. So thank you for coming along. If you are new here and you have not subscribed, do it now. Not for the algorithm, because this week is a sequence, and what arrives after Thursday builds directly on everything that has been activated since the night. You do not want to arrive at the new moon without the full context of what has been building toward it. Drop your zodiac sign in the comments below. I want to see who the universe gathered here today for this specific briefing, because the fact that you found this video on a Tuesday before the new moon and stayed through all 8 mistakes is not random, and every single one of you who stayed deserves to be acknowledged for it. Drop your sign. Let's see who is here. The action for today is not a ritual. It requires no crystals, no ceremony, no carefully constructed intention written on paper and burned at midnight. It is this: before you send any significant message today, before you initiate any confrontation, make any declaration, or act on any decision that arrived this morning wearing the costume of obvious clarity, pause for the length of 3 full breaths, not to talk yourself out of it, not to second guess whether what you are feeling is true, simply to let the activation settle enough that what you transmit next is coming from your actual self, rather than from the part of your nervous system that Mercury and Aries switched on this morning. 3 breaths. Between the impulse and the action, that is the autopilot interruption. That is the Temperance card's guardian angel doing the only work it requires of you today. Not silencing the voice, not suppressing the truth, not asking you to be smaller than what you are, simply creating the 3-breath gap between what you feel and what you transmit. In that gap lives the difference between a message that haunts you and a message that heals something. In that gap lives everything Thursday is trying to give you. 3 breaths. That is the entire practice. Now the thing I want you to carry out of this video and into the rest of today: you are not behind. You have not missed the window, the fact that you are watching this before the mistakes happened, rather than after, before the message was sent, before the confrontation was initiated, before the silence was broken, tells me something precise about the quality of awareness you are operating with right now. The secret language of birthdays carries a meditation for the energy of this day that contains everything the next 72 hours are asking of you. It reads simply, "A boat floats until it sinks. You are floating. The boat is intact." Thursday's new moon is not a rescue from something you failed to prevent. It is a harbor you are navigating toward, and you arrive at harbors by moving with precision, not by swimming through waters you capsized yourself in, by moving too fast. The 8 mistakes are not here to create fear. They are here because you are being observed, not punitively, not with judgment, but with the precise attention of a universe that has invested significant architecture in your arrival at Thursday's stellium, with your full capacity intact. The watchers are not watching for speed. They are watching for the quality of your movement when the impulse is loudest and the patience required is at its highest. And here is the truth that Mercury in Aries will try to make you forget today. You do not heal by fixing who you were. You outgrow them. The version of yourself that used to send the premature message, initiate the premature confrontation, break the silence because the silence became uncomfortable. That version has already been outgrown. You are not managing them anymore. You have simply become someone else. Someone who holds the 3-breath gap. Someone who lets the boat float. Someone who arrives at Thursday's new moon with the full weight of what they have built, unspent, uncompromised, and completely intact. Timing does not just affect outcomes. It determines whether something feels like struggle or flow. And what is waiting for you on Thursday was always going to be yours. The only variable was always whether you would arrive at it having burned your energy in phase 1, or having saved it for the moment it was actually needed. You saved it. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not the wrong person for what is coming. You are exactly where you need to be. And if you are still here, still watching, I genuinely appreciate you more than you know. Drop your zodiac sign below, subscribe if you haven't, and hold the line today. Thursday is 3 days away. The boat is floating. Don't sink it now.